Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for another Whiskey Wednesday. And today we have a very special show for everybody. Backstage, we have Nolan Smith, owner of Backbone Bourbon. Now, to give a little preview of what's to come here, as we talk about Nolan and the history of Backbone, for me, myself, Backbone has actually been one of my favorite brands since 2018, when I first started getting really into the whiskey as more of a hobby. Now, unbeknownst to me at the time, when I fell in love with Backbone because of all these great picks that were around Northern Kentucky, I didn't know what I was getting into at the time. I just found great whiskey for a great price. And then over the years have fallen more and more in love with Backbone, with getting then the opportunity, thanks to Dusty Dan inviting us along, for some great barrel picks to kick off 2024 last year, resulting in 3 very, very rememberable barrels. So what we're going to do tonight is talk to Nolan, and he's also set up a tasting for us tonight that we will go through as the show goes on as well. So throughout tonight and in chat, if you have any questions for us, get our attention. We'll try to preview and pull up those questions as they come. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. Well, as we pull on, Kelsey and Darrell here and say hi to everybody, I do have a question for you guys, and I'm going to caveat this question just a little bit. But curious what your favorite Backbone bottle is, if we take away our 3 picks. Though I think I know what your answer is most likely going to be, but still curious. Darrell, let's start with you.
Shit. So if we're taking away our 3 picks, what's my favorite Backbone? Was the question, right?
Yep.
Oh man. I think for me it's the Justin's House, a bourbon Backbone pick that I've had. That and I think Maddie's first Slip and Jimmy were probably right up there, but yeah, something about that Backbone. It was a slightly, or the Justin's one, slightly older profile it came across as this one screams. But yeah, it was great. That was a great pick.
Yeah, those were the 2 that I thought you were going to go with, but of course you took both answers, so that leaves Kelsey coming up with something different here. He's waving his hands.
You can go with it too, Kelsey.
Kelsey, what is it on your list here?
No, he took my answer, man. No, the Justin's House of Bourbon was probably the one pick that I can remember that just made me fall in love with it, because I didn't really get into Backbone until then. That's the first really bottle that I had and set the bar really, really high. And then I got a sample of a Slip and Jimmy, which was great. But everything that I've really tasted from them, another one that I really liked when we were there that I picked up locally was the Forge. I really, really enjoyed the Forge, which was a really cool idea, and blending in the blending ability that Nolan has with barrels and what he does with them. So those would probably be the ones that stick out in my mind for the ones that I really, really made me fall in love with the brand itself. So
I was pre-gaming with one here. Let's see if it'll zoom in there, but man, this is one of the older ones that I got my hands on, but back from 2019. I still got a backup of this bottle too. So I still got 1 or 2 of these backed up. And then of course, I mean, I'm almost synonymous with the O Sherry that Jason and Scott picked.
Oh yeah, I forgot
that Sherry finish Backbone. I think I bought half that stock. I probably still bought 10 of those.
Yeah, I know I bought 2 or 3 and I drank, I think I've just I think I killed the last one last year. So that sherry finish on that one was just crazy good.
Well, let's bring up Nolan there. That's just a little precursor of what's to come, but letting everybody know how big of fans we are, dating all the way back. I actually was counting the bottles. I think I got 30 Backbone bottles floating around here, either between the stuff Ben gave me or all the single barrels we have or all the other things we've talked about. But let's pull on Nolan here. Nolan, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody here?
Hello, friends.
Hello.
Hello.
Did I do that right, Jeff?
Yes, got it.
That works.
Hello, everybody. Nolan Smith from Backbone Bourbon Company, founder, and mainly the guy who does the blending. I also host the single barrel tastings, which if you haven't done, please find a group or find a way to come, because they are a lot of fun, and it's something I think we do pretty well. It's a nice experience. At least that's what people tell us. So
absolutely,
yeah. But thanks for having me, Jeff. This is cool. This is really cool.
Thanks for joining.
Well, for those that don't know about Backbone or haven't had the history of Backbone, we got into this a little bit backstage here, but Backbone, I believe, is founded in 2014. So why don't you walk us through kind of some of the history there, the inspiration of starting it, and kind of some of your journey to this moment?
Yeah, so I have another business, which is a distribution business in Indiana, and we do wine and spirits. And believe it or not, we started the brands in late 2010 as private labels for that business. And we had there was a local person who had, believe it or not, was trying to develop a flavored vodka. And Red Velvet was one of the flavors. But it was that kind of a profile. But it was taking a while to develop the flavors and to get all the product right. But in the meantime, he found all this bourbon down in Lawrenceburg, and and so started a small bourbon label, and had a couple SKUs, had like a core product, and then a reserve version of the product. That was basically MGP. So we took the brand on as a distributor, and within I think we had it for about 8 months. It was our best-selling. The bourbon was our best-selling item in our history, which at that time was about 5 or 6 years. We're doing really well. One day the guy walked in and said, I'm sorry, but I'm going with a bigger distributor, which is, if you know anything about small distribution companies, it's the last thing you want to hear. And so we were pretty mad. But after about a week, we kind of knew what he was doing. We knew we could do private labels. And so we literally emailed down to the big distillery, got a very poor grammar reply back saying that they could meet. And we went down and took a look at the place and ended up buying 20 barrels of bourbon. So that was kind of it. It was, I think back to those days, and they were really cool days. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of barrels down there. And they were really, really inexpensive. And so, we got in pretty early. We didn't do a whole lot initially. The brands as private label did well for us in the distribution company. We were making good margin. 2013 or so, we started to get inquiries from nearby states. Tennessee had seen it. Someone had seen it. Illinois had seen it. And then we had some other contacts in the distribution world that, we'd had some brief conversations with. So, we spun it off into a separate company, and by 2014, I mean, more like the end of middle of 2014 is kind of when we got going, and really only by 2015 we were, I'd say we'd really gotten going. And so, yeah, at the time it was an interesting time. I mean, the way Backbone started, there wasn't a whole lot of high proof small batch stuff around, So there was some around, but it was pretty rare. So our first product, Backbone Uncut, was it's the same today. It's 10 barrels that we kind of hand select. We go through a bunch of samples and we pick the ones that show the best or fit our flavor profile. We dump them, minimal filtration. When they come out of the barrel, we have some kind of strainer on there, but it's not really not very fine. And we just bottle it, and whatever the proof is, comes out. That's what's in the bottle. So at that time, it was pretty unique. We had the labeling was pretty unique too. The big lettering. No one was doing the big letters for the actual whiskey. You could see things on a bottle from across the room, but like our Bone Snapper Rye, I can see it on top, just behind Jeff there. Like that thing stands out a mile. And so we wanted that. We wanted the people to look across the bar and say, well, I know that's rye, or that's bourbon. So those kind of two things were what we started with. And then, we, over the last, since we became a separate company, I think we probably had 3 or 4 different versions of Backbone. But I wanted to. I think the desire to provide a quality product at a good price has always been kind of our underlying goal. So I think over the years we've gotten a lot more creative. We've gotten a lot better at blending. What Backbone does is really an old school concept. If there aren't any Scotch drinkers out there, the independent bottlers from Scotland, really, we do a lot of what they do. They don't make whiskey. They buy their whiskey, but then they, through their storage process, through their blending, they're able to really make it something unique and proprietary. And so I think that's as simple as it gets for us. Although we use other people's whiskey, we've got a way of making it proprietary. And it sounds, it's easy to say, but we do 2 different things. And our single barrel program's been just a huge boost for this. But we do 2 things. And number one is we rebarrel a lot. So not everything. We've got plenty of straight whiskey options, but when we start to backbone something, it tends to go in a second barrel. And the idea there is really simple. The flavor from whiskey, bourbon, rye, wheat, most of it comes from the barrel. And so we just taken that a step further. If you add a second barrel, you're getting another hit of flavor. And that second barrel can be a bunch of different things. It can be obviously just another New Oak number 3 Char American, a bourbon barrel, or it can be something, way off from that, like, some of the, obviously the traditional finishing barrels, port, rum, sherry, but then non-traditional stuff. We like to use Amaro. Is a cool. I always have it in the lineup. Well, I always have it in stock because it's a great blending agent. It's a great. I find it's a really good base ingredient for a lot of blends. So number one, we rebarrel, and then over the years we figured out how to blend stuff, and there are different tiers of backbone products, but the stuff that's kind of middle and upper tier, you're going to find some pretty cool blending involved there. And what it does is, I think, with the advent of MGP being open for business, for being a core ingredient for brand building companies like Backbone, it's allowed a lot of innovation to occur in this boom. You guys know as well as I do, the big guys they don't have the flexibility frankly, I don't think they have the desire to do a lot of experimenting with different finishes or pushing the limit on, what traditional bourbon drinkers may or may not want to try. So that's what we do. I say it all the time. Backbone isn't for everybody. It's for people that have an adventurous relationship with whiskey.
It's definitely for me.
They don't want to, and there's nothing wrong with, your father or father-in-law or your grandfather. They've got their brands and they like them, and they always will. That's a very important part of whiskey culture. But what the boom's done is brought a lot of people that want to go on a flying carpet every once in a while, and we kind of feel like we were good. We will get them there more often than not. And so you guys have tasted with me, the kind of exploration, the curiosity that I think is built into our tastings is kind of embodies what we're all about. So I think I lost my train of thought, but I think you get the idea of what I think Backbone is to the right audience.
Oh, we definitely do.
Sure.
No, and that was the fun part of my journey. I kind of said that in the intro, but I know exactly where I was in the store that I was the first time I bought a Backbone bourbon. And it was the age of the single barrel and the price of the single barrel at the time. I was like, I'm going to take a chance on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back to the store the next week and bought the next one. And then they had 3 different single barrels there.
Mm-hmm.
They're now a liquor barn, but they used to be
Yes.
a discount something. I can't remember the name of it. It's driving me nuts as I'm sitting here in Northern Kentucky.
Yeah,
But
I'll think of it in a minute.
But once I fell into that trap, then Gallenstein had a whole bunch of picks in Northern Kentucky, and I was just collecting one after the other. The one that sticks out to me the most, it was probably 2019. It was only 5 years old, but it was 136 or 138 proof. And it was the first time on a whiskey where I got such a pure butterscotch note.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have all of these little memories of Backbone throughout the year because of that.
Cool. That's cool, Jeff.
So,
Hey, David. Cheers, buddy.
You're the best.
I will say it was quite the experience going in and tasting. If you guys, like Nolan said, if you get a chance to do it because there is so much whiskey there in so many different whiskeys and so many directions you can go. You really, when you're there, you want to kind of narrow in, because it's such a wide variety of stuff that you have and directions that you can go, whether it be a smaller barrel that you've rebarreled into, or whether it be a finished barrel or whatever else. It was just a lot of fun, and make sure that you have an Uber driver when you go. And don't try to drink everything that you taste. Please, please, please don't do that. So it's a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun when we were there. Those 3 barrels were some of my favorites, and they were some of the most popular ones that we've had as far as picks go, because there were a wide variety. I think that Sticky Icky was probably the most complex 4.5-year-old whiskey I've ever tasted. It just continually changed as it set in your glass. It got sweeter, and every experience was a different one every time you tasted it. And so it was a lot of fun to taste that one. And then you had an 8-year-old that we had, and then the boot clapper rye that we did was so much fun, the double rye. So lots of memories for us as a group, but also just lots of people that have those memories now, getting to taste the whiskey. So we appreciate what you do, and we appreciate the things that you're offering to put good whiskey in people's hands that doesn't cost $300, $400 to try to get a bottle. That's the cool thing about Backbone. You get quality, you get great experiences, you get a variety of anything that your heart's desire, to be honest with you. I'm excited to hear more about what your micro batching is doing and how that's taking off. I definitely want to hear more about that, and I want our people to know more about that. So if you want to maybe tell everybody what that is and how you came up with it, that would be really interesting to hear.
Yeah, so it's kind of a it's like a Backbone club, but we control a lot more, obviously, and it was really just a way to showcase what we're good at. It's hard to, it's hard to get that message across sometimes, but it goes back to these great barrels that we have and we've rebarreled, and then it also goes back to combinations of whiskeys working well together. And so we limited the club to 500 members. I think we have almost 300. It's free to join. We've done 2 releases, and it didn't go as well as I expected. We still are ironing out some parts of the process because they will go through a retail in DC. But it's been really fun because I might have a barrel or 2 of something that I think is really cool. It may be a cool finish that I will you'll have to trust me on this stuff. But I think it'll be in my opinion, it'll be something that will be fun and exciting and adventurous to try. And then maybe with it, there's 2 things that we can do together. I'm really trying to put together combinations of different flavor profiles. It's one of the things that I'm working on this year, and to have some pretty unique stuff. We still want to keep the traditional flavors in and around what we're trying to do, but these kinds of releases will be they'll be let's just say they'll be more innovative than traditional. I don't know that I got much more than that. Oh, I do. It's we call it the Landmark Society. Every release has got a different landmark picture in the state of Indiana, and so it'll have a unique picture, and the batch will have a name, so it won't have a number, but the batch will relate to the landmark. And so if I had to dream out loud, it would be great to have someone with let's say we've made it a couple of years, where we do maybe three releases a year, that you could have 6 of these on the shelf, and you could look at the picture and go, yeah, I know exactly what that is. That's this one that they did. And so anyway, we're just trying to shake things up and promote the brand, and trying to present what we're good at.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's awesome,
Yeah.
and exciting as well. I know I was excited to see when I saw the email and the press release and stuff came across for that, and really exciting. And hopefully us getting down to see you before the end of this year and
Sure.
pick some more barrels and hang out some more. So
That'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great, Kelsey.
You just set the bridge for what's in front of us, man. I'm curious. Can we maybe dive into these and talk about them a bit, or should we dive into them and just wait? Like, how do you want to do this, Nolan?
So let's start. There is there? I don't know what Sam did. Did he put a barrel number on them, or did he put a description?
Yeah,
Did.
we got the barrel
Okay.
number.
Barrel number 749, S749.
okay.
Yeah.
We're going to start with this is a double oak option, but we use a very cool second barrel. And I'm sure we've talked about this at some point. But this, Jeff, I know we've talked about this, but this is it's a cool barrel from Independent Stave Company. It's called a wave stave barrel.
Okay.
And the barrel has these grooves in a wave design down the stave. So, basically just creating more surface area. But it really does something unique to the whiskey. It gives it. It's different from using a traditional second new oak barrel. I get some. It seems like more of the malt part of the mash bill comes out to me. But we love this combo. We love double barrel with MGP because the second barrel really helps the structure of MGP. It's the one great thing about MGP, the many good things, but the thing that we really love is that it's really an easy whiskey to get into whiskey. In other words, I find the juice from MGP tends to be softer and sweeter compared to some of the Kentucky stuff that you see. It's a big generalization, but bear with me. So given that, the second barrel really helps kind of give it some shoulders, some definition. You still get that underlying sweetness, which is great, but you get some cool oak and char presence in the background. So the combo on this, we're looking at about let's see, just over 6 years combined. So that's a good age, especially for double oak. But let's see what it tastes like, gents.
Cheers.
Yes.
Cheers, everybody.
Right away, the mouthfeel is what hits me. It's really viscous, really velvety mouthfeel. It's a very, when you say double oaked, to me, it has a connotation for a lot of people to have this real charred or marshmallowy.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't come across that way when I think double oak. This is really balanced.
Mm-hmm.
You still get the excuse the pun, backbone of the whiskey, along with just the enhancement of the toasting or the second barrel.
Yeah.
The second barrel, was it a heavy char or a heavier char than the first?
No, number 3. Actually, it's MGP does a lot of number 4s, so it was number 3 on the second. The one thing I didn't tell you, it's been in the wave stave since January of 23, so it's had
holy shit,
just over 2 years. And I tell you, although we don't have one here today, I'll tell you what an observation, but we did a bunch of rebarreling with toasted barrels, just toasted barrels, and that was definitely a thing for a while. And it was, certainly a great flavor profile, and we sold some. But I tell you that after a year or so, that toasted barrel really gets a different characteristic. That kind of drying, mouth smacking, like, wow, that's a lot of oak. That kind of goes away, and it really it just becomes a lot richer. You don't get that kind of real toasty classic profile, but it really kind of goes more into a much more classic double oak. So my point being that when you can put time, when that second barrel can have some time to really take hold of the whiskey, it really integrates, and it does lead to balance. And it really doesn't ever. I haven't come across a double barrel that is like, this is worse than the first barrel. It always seems to help. Anyway, that's just my experience. So
in your experience then, Nolan, how long do you like to keep things in that second barrel?
Oh man, I'll tell you, a lot of people are really precise about that kind of stuff, Jeff. I'm not too worried about it. Again, I mean, whiskey doesn't go bad. What can go bad is if it gets low in the barrel. I think small barrels tend to, they'll evaporate pretty quickly, and that thing can get really kind of very chewy.
Okay.
But I really don't, and that's I think kind of one of our secrets is that we've got the stuff that we just, for one reason or another, we didn't sell it, or there was a phase like the toasted stuff, or some of this more esoteric finishing stuff, and we didn't sell it. And a year goes by, a year and a half goes by, come back and it's completely different. And there's a place for it. I'll give you a good example. I just had a group in from Texas, and I had it was one of the first. We got into the single barrel business pretty hard in about 2018, and it was one of the first, probably that second year, we did some Oloroso sherry, which at that time was pretty cool, but in this day and age, it's not very uncommon. But anyway, I had one of these barrels left, and I think it was the original barrel date was March of 2015. I think we put it in the sherry barrel in maybe early 2020. And I don't know, I've tasted it over the years, and it was sometimes good, sometimes not that great. We tasted it in February with this group, and it was just incredible. I mean, it was nutty and super, just a ton of things going on. It wasn't overly sweet. Anyway, they ended up taking the barrel, but that's kind of my point, is that you just sort of let these things live and have a life of their own, and then just kind of figure out a way to find them. You know, find them at the right time. So
re-explore them, and when it's their moment, it's their moment.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I like to give you the analogy of Backbone being like a kitchen. You know, it's no secret that we buy. We don't make our whiskey. We buy from other distilleries. We've got two main sources. We've got MGP is our main source, but then we have a really cool distillery in Indianapolis that we've been buying whiskey from for the last 5 years. So, I mean, so what makes Backbone unique is, well, we buy great ingredients, but then we deconstruct and we elevate. And what I was saying before we started the session is, you know, that sounds kind of airy fairy, fancy, whatever, but it's two things. It's you know, we do a ton of rebarreling. As I said earlier, the bulk of the flavor from whiskey comes from the barrel, and you know, if you want to develop different spectrums of flavor profile, thinking about another barrel is a great place to start. And this idea, this concept, what's possible came about through our single barrel program, because we started to put whiskey in all kinds of things. And we developed a whole bunch of different flavor profiles. So rebarreling is number one. And then number two is, you know, being able to blend appropriately, properly, in a balanced way, that you create something more than the sum of the parts. I tend to get the impression people think that blending is easy. I think it's really hard. And it's almost like blending is like the metaphor I would give. It's like sliding into first base. You know, you start that slide however many feet out. What that slide ends differently. You know, so when you blend, you have to allow for some sliding into what it's finally going to be, and that's a real art, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a real art.
That's what we talked about with Nancy a lot, Nancy Fraley, and just it is an absolute art. And to me, anybody can pick a good barrel, right? Anybody can go in and find a barrel, but it's hard pressed to be able to find somebody who can really have the artistry and the knowledge and the palate to take many different things and combine them into something that is like greater together than it was apart from itself. So yeah, kudos, man. I've thoroughly enjoyed everything that I've tasted from you guys. I know David McAllister was on here a while ago. I had his pick that he did, and you know, Jason and Scott have done some. I was looking at that. I was trying to remember the name. It's called the Flux Capacitor.
Yeah, it's got the Amaro in it.
Yeah, and it's just really cool stuff. I mean, that you, in thinking about it, like you wouldn't necessarily, that would not be my first thought. Okay, I'm going to use this to blend, because it's not something your brain goes to, right? So you've got a sense of all of the ingredients that you want to try to put together a flavor profile, and it just really comes together really well. And if you guys aren't following Backbone on Instagram, here's the link for you. Thanks, Richie, for putting that up.
Thanks, Richie.
And make sure you guys get over and follow him and Backbone. So
yeah,
this is really interesting whiskey.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying it.
You mentioned the malt.
Pardon? Go ahead.
Oh, you mentioned the malt on this one, and I'm getting that. It almost actually snapped me into a memory, which is always an interesting thing for a whiskey. My mom used to have this green Tupperware container, which had to be, you know, something that was probably sold to her door to door in the 70s, like that type of container. But it was filled with malted powder that she would make malted milkshakes.
Oh yeah,
for us.
Yeah.
That is the note that I get on this one over and
cool.
over again. Like it just snaps into my head.
That's very cool.
I get a lot of that barrel influence along with some citrus though too up front. Like I wouldn't immediately think double oak though on the
No,
nose.
I wouldn't have either. But I will say the more air this gets, the sweeter it gets, and
Mm-hmm.
the more richer the profile comes across on the nose
Mhm.
of the whiskey. The palate's been pretty much, consistently the same, but the nose is really transitioning a whole lot as it gets air.
Yeah, and go back to these in a few days, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I always worry about stuff just getting off a truck, but yeah, go back to them in a few days. I think you get most of the flavor, but I think some of the nuances get lost when it's being muscled around.
That's a good first.
Yeah, you want to move on to the second one?
Sure.
Which
Sure.
one?
So this would
Which
be
barrel?
barrel 958.
Okay.
Proof water. Okay. Cool.
And Jeff, I think we may have discussed this in an email, but we might have. I have to look at what we did that day.
So
We did so much that day.
Yeah.
So it was the sticky icky might be the one you're.
What was the barrel?
957 was sticky icky.
Okay,
So this is we're got the sister barrel right next to sticky icky.
The barrel.
What's the barrel date on the back, Jeff?
6/24.
That's the bottle. Oh no, 1019 is what I wanted. Perfect.
There you go.
No, this is a sister barrel. This, you know what? We've had in my notes here. It's not saying it's a 30-gallon, but I think this is a 30-gallon. We found 3 or 4 samples where we had mislabeled them. But anyway, icky sticky, sticky icky. The story on this is you talk about the barrel adding a lot of flavor. This is it's a barrel that was meant for the wine industry. And what I mean by that is typically, barrels that are going to go and make some nice Chardonnay or Cabernet, they have to have those barrels really, really clean. So what they do is they air dry them for years. So these staves were air dried for 36 months. And I'm not sure exactly what that does, but all that kind of organic essence that you would get from wood that's recently cut is completely gone. What you have is pure oak. Most bourbon barrels, you guys probably know this as well as I do, they don't get a lot of air drying. Air drying. A lot of them sometimes maybe it's a 6 weeks or 3 months, and then often they'll go through a big kind of heating room to get them dried out.
Mm-hmm.
And so that essence I mentioned doesn't always get out, and I think it's fine with bourbon. Bourbon's so powerful that it's fine. It's part of the identity. But when you can get a clean, pure oak presence in whiskey, I think you get something really noble and very rich. And so this is something I discovered early on, that these kinds of barrels, they just do wonders to the richness of the whiskey. So so this the secret to this is it's a special barrel.
All right.
Yeah, man. It's definitely a lot of oak on that, but in the best way possible. I think the only difference that I can remember off memory, I'll have to pour it side by side with this one.
Yep.
Is fruit coming across first and then the oak.
Yeah. No, this one's had a little bit more time in that barrel. And again, if it's a 30-gallon, it's gotten a bigger hit of, I mean, it's pushing, 6 years. So it's not super young. But I think we tasted, might have been 2023, maybe the fall of 23. So we've had some time, but yeah, I think that kind of what's the word I'm looking for? There's definitely some oak, a little bit of char, but there's kind of there's a great middle to this. It's just got, just a great sweetness to it,
Mm-hmm.
at least in my opinion.
It's coming across to me as a charred meringue right off the top there.
That's a cool experience. Description.
It's all, like you said, for me, it's all middle palate. It's all like middle of the palate for me on that oak.
Mm-hmm.
And the finish is long. Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
It's still going.
So the Sticky was 129.6 proof, so it's actually a pretty good amount difference in proof too, being that it was in the barrel longer too. This one's 120, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Lovely finish though.
What was that? Oh, right out the back.
He's got a lot of culture, a lot of agriculture.
The nose is similar.
The reason that came up in that conversation too on that email was Remus just released a 9-year experimental that was aged in wine casks, and the moment that I sipped that, it's coming in at 107 proof, I just snapped back into the barrel that we got for you, and I was like, oh my gosh, like ours is the cask strength version of this. Like, what is, all of a sudden all those notes and everything, there were so many similarities.
Mm-hmm.
But theirs took 9 years to get those notes, and yours got there in 5 years.
Yeah, and that was the thing. Like whenever I have a bourbon group that meets every Monday night, a group of guys, Nolan, and we trade houses and have a tasting every Monday night. And one of the things that I did when we picked these is I blinded them. I didn't tell them the age. I didn't tell them anything. And they thought this was the oldest whiskey in the group. And it was just, it's a testament to the complexity that you're doing with what you're doing, that it comes across as old as an 8-year-old. And it's even more dark. It's darker, right? It's got a darker color than our 8-year-old pick.
Mm-hmm.
But the complexity of the flavor at that young of an age, like you said, it's very interesting how that happens, and the ability to be able to have that type of experience with that young of a whiskey.
Cool.
You're not ever getting that out of the first barrel.
Very cool.
This being the sister barrel, it's the same 30-gallon and all that, Nolan?
Yeah. Now the mash bill on this is the 36% rye from MGP.
Okay.
I can't remember what we did back when you guys were at the tasting room.
I'm pretty sure it was 36% too on the 957, because the 8-year was the 21%.
Yeah.
You know what? I can look it up actually.
I will say, taking them side by side, I know one was in a glass, one wasn't, but this is like a more refined version of our pick.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's a more balanced. It's less punchy. It's a better overall like profile and experience all the way through it. That's the thing I loved about the Sticky, though. It was a face punch and full of flavor, but had depth and a finish. But this is like a more refined version of it. Really, really enjoyed that.
Jeff, you were correct. That Sticky Icky was 36%.
All right.
Yeah, which we don't have a ton of. We pretty much staked our claim on the 20%, 21% rye, but yeah. So this is one of the few 36% we have. But cool little whiskey.
Actually, whenever we were tasting barrels a lot, and we always were talking about the rye, we tend to gravitate more towards the higher rye MGP profile a lot of the times, unless it was like pre-2018, whenever those barrels were 10 and 12 years old then. I know Jeff prefers a different rye mash bill, but the other one that we've tried a lot lately has been the 44% rye. And it's really, really interesting, that profile for MGP. But we tend to, at least my palate, Jeff, I think would agree that we tend to lean more towards that higher rye content on the MGP.
So that 44% is rye. Is that a bourbon, Kelsey?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's the same mash bill that basically they were contract distilling for Old Dominic.
Okay.
And so
52, right?
Old Dominic is now producing their own juice, but that same mash bill that they were contract distilling at MGP.
I'd love to taste that. I got to find a bottle somewhere.
Oh, we can send you some. Absolutely. I'd love for you to taste our
yeah,
pick.
that would be really interesting.
Yeah, it's really it's a different, I guess, more fruit forward. At least the one that we picked was anyway. Lots and lots and lots of fruit up front. But again, it still had that viscosity and finish that you want with a younger whiskey, but tasting like an older whiskey.
Yep. I'll give you what before we do the next sample. But you know what's funny is in the last 2 years, it's been an interesting time in the single barrel space. But finishes have declined. 24 wasn't a great year for finishes. In 23, I started to see a lot of, we just want to go back to kind of the basics. Let's do straight bourbon.
Yeah.
But I tell you what I've noticed just in the groups that have come to see me this year is it may not be a conscious thought, but there are, I think I've sold some really interesting finishes this year that I don't think they would have picked if they were looking at a sheet of paper. So, and I think what's helped me is we do half barrels. So we'll do, 90 bottles, 84 bottles. And we're happy to do it. But I think when people can, not have a whole barrel of something that's kind of, a little bit out there, it makes it more palatable. And I'll give you a really good example. We had a group from Alaska come in. There's a big retailer up there, and I challenged myself to sell some. One, I was going to sell some rye, and two, I was going to sell some finishes. And they ended up picking a rye finished in peach brandy. And let me tell you something. That may not sound good to some people, but boy, I tell you, it showed really, really well. And they're doing a dinner with it in June. And I could just imagine kind of a warm summer evening. You figure out what the cocktail is. I mean, there's got to be some cocktail there. Hell, if it's not even a cocktail, let's throw some ice on it. But that's going to be a perfect drink for a certain time of year. But anyway, that's my 2 cents worth. I also sold a banana rum barrel the other day that showed really well. So
I think that's the cool thing about walking into Backbone is letting you do your thing, and your barrels better than we know what our preferences, so to speak, are at the time in our mind, and exploring and not being confined to what we preconceive, what we think we want, and tasting some stuff that's out there just to see what it's like and to see what that experience is. So kudos to you for doing that stuff, man. That's awesome.
Well, that's a perfect intro to this last sample we have.
Awesome.
Because this is a wild experiment that turned out really well.
Should we go in blind?
Sure, let's do it. If you just have the barrel number, then you don't know what it is. But I'll let you tell me. Look, it's not. It's impossible, right? I mean, but let me get your thoughts on what you think it tastes like. What kind of whiskey it tastes like.
So it's probably not even a bourbon.
Yeah.
Gave us another Irish like we had.
Darrell, we're gonna lean on your nose here.
All right, we'll see.
Oh man, that's good.
The nose smells great.
Yeah,
it's fruit for me. Not much spice, but it's
Darrell
bright.
has innate ability on finishes. I don't know what it is, but that boy can pick out finishes a lot of times.
That's great.
Yeah, the nose is great. I'm curious though, because you said type of whiskey, Nolan. So I'm gonna take a sip. I don't think it's bourbon going off of what you said, but we'll see.
Oh wow! Wow. Coming off of that other one, I know it's the proof is higher, but my God, this is so much more velvety, and the mouthfeel on this thing is incredible. I never would have guessed this was a higher proof at all. I would think it drinks less than what we just drank.
This reminds me, I'm getting that note that I get off our Green River, that peachy citrus note.
Yep.
All day on this. Oh my God.
Well, as we were talking with OH and Todd on that too, we were talking about how that might be related to the barley and even the relationship to some Irish.
Jeff, and maybe you put this in my head, but this is like a combination of what you were talking about with that malt note, but with peach added to it and a little bit of cream.
This smells
more so there.
Great. This is my favorite of the three. I just took one sip and I immediately.
Fantastic.
I would guess this is one of your Irish again, if you're playing that card on us again, Nolan.
I would think so.
Now, what
too.
it's finished in would be interesting too, the way you worded it.
It doesn't come across as like a red wine or anything.
No,
if it's some type of wine finish, maybe some type of.
It is the Irish. You guys are too good. You guys are too good. I tried to trick you up, but man, fell on my face.
That is some.
Yeah.
OH would love this right here.
Yeah, So this is probably the same set of barrels that you guys tasted with me. I'd forgotten that you had tasted with me. But I like to throw this out in the tasting room because it's really a nice, at a minimum, it's a nice conversation. But there's no finishing barrel per se. We had, if you remember correctly, we got this whiskey in totes at 3 years old. It had to be 3 years old because that's the definition of Irish whiskey. One of them. We took that 3-year-old and then barreled it in a number 3 char New Oak American barrel. This one was done in August of 22. So it's had almost 3 years in that second barrel. And, the color on this is fantastic. Just really nicely integrated.
Absolutely.
To me, it tastes a little bit like a rye, like a really cool rye, but, some people could think it's a bourbon. But it's just a nice surprise. Just a nice surprise.
What's the total age, Nolan?
So August of 22, and then 3 years before that. So you're looking at, it's probably just 3 months shy of 6 years old.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is such a wild experience in the sense of knowing what it is, and then the way the flavor profile comes across. It kind of short circuits my brain a little bit. Of trying to pull notes off of that. Like I just get that sweet malt, almost like a cream, and then that peach note comes across so forward on it to me, which I don't think I've ever gotten on an Irish whiskey ever.
No, this is not. This is really a hybrid. We sent some to a real Irish whiskey expert, and it's a woman in Ohio, which you may know, Jeff. I forget her name.
Stacey.
Do you get to interact with Stacey much?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked quite a bit.
Yeah,
she was not a fan, but
she's a little bit pure.
She'll be a traditionalist on her Irish whiskey, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fan.
I am too. Katie would love this too. I think Katie and Ethan both love this one. Oh man, wow. That's such a unique flavor profile and nose profile on this thing.
It is that note, though, that we keep coming across now recently. We've been having these discussions, Nolan, just in our text messages and everything else. But over the last year and a half, peach and apricot has come up in our tasting notes more and more through a whole bunch of different distilleries. And now we're getting it here tonight. It's the same note that I don't think was in our dictionary 5 years ago, 4 years ago, but it's been hitting us more and more recently. We're trying to figure out why. And it might be us, but still, it's just so interesting all of a sudden, this trend of finding that note.
That's interesting. You know what I don't get a lot of, and I wish I got more of, is I wish I got more cherry in what we have in our it's just such a cool. I've even got I'm really chasing this flavor profile, and so I've done cherry brandy finishes, and when I did that, I thought I got it. You know, it turns out I didn't got it. The cherry was sour. It wasn't as sweet, and I kind of gave up on it. And then last year, I just said, let's do it again. And so it's tasting a lot better. But I tell you what I did was, and we've done this with other things, but I've got 85%, good straight bourbon, 6 years old. And I've got 15% of that is this cherry brandy, bourbon finished cherry brandy. And I've got that kind of cooking at the moment. It's rebarreled, and we just did it in, I think, March. So yeah, I'm chasing that flavor profile. I think cherry is just so sexy, and boy, if I find that in a bourbon, man, I'm bowled over.
Well, we'll send you our Green River pick that we just did, because it is like a cherry cordial / port.
Oh.
It has apricot notes and peach notes in it, but the main note is that strong, like cherry pie crust note in it, and it's just
so good.
Yeah. How old is that whiskey, Kelsey?
6 years old.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, just a little over 6 years old. We'll send that to you along with the some of the holding station that we picked. That's 4%, because
that'd be great.
Fun experience for you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, this Irish is. Oof.
So, the flux capacitor, I've started using that phrase. We call them fusion. We had groups taste them and they go, "Oh, this is cigar blend," and and that's fine. We've called it that too. But the flux capacitor is really is a cool name. There you go.
You go. Pull it right up here.
Oh no, that's the second one.
That's
the second one. The first one's somewhere on the.
I got the first one because there's a blue label.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the first one.
That's so cool that the different colors. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great, man.
That second one was a barrel we tasted during our tasting with you, Nolan. You gave us the one that they chose.
Okay. Oh, good.
That was a really good. That was, I think, my second favorite out of what we tasted during our time with you.
Good.
Oh, Stacy's got, or OH has got an idea for you. You need more than Irish, try a Sicilian Marsala wine cask to finish it for cherry.
All right. Okay, where can I get one from?
Sicily.
I'm writing it down. I can get Marsala, but Sicilian?
Yeah.
All right.
Sicilian Marsala. Marsala is red wine, I'm guessing. A unique cask used Mitchell and Sons red. Oh, the red spot. Oh, I have that. I do got that.
Cool. Very cool.
I get cherry on that though. I gotta go back to that.
Is red spot, is that a bourbon or a scotch?
That's an Irish.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
This cool. Irish is.
Well, Nolan, we're just about out of time. Is there anything that you wanted to highlight as far as upcoming things coming out that you want us to know about, or people to know about?
We just we have a product called Decade Down. There's two things actually, Casey. The first thing is we just did it's called the 2024 batch.
Camera again. Sorry, guys.
We had it ready to go at the end of 24, but one of the bases just wasn't right, so we changed it up completely. So it's coming out in 2025, and it's really, I think it's our most awarded whiskey. It's basically, there's an echo of Oloroso sherry in there, but it's really complex. It's the way Oloroso, bourbon finished Oloroso should be. It's mainly straight bourbon, but but we blend in some Oloroso, bourbon finished in Oloroso, and that has to be a certain flavor profile that I have to prepare like at least 18 months in advance to get that whiskey where I need it to be. So that's number one. Number two, we have a relationship with a company called Shared Pour in DC, and we are going to do some promotional pricing on some of our older stuff.
Okay.
And so Old Bones 10, Old Bones Rye 10, Old Bones Rye 15, Almost Old Bones is a 9.5-year-old bourbon. Just incredible whiskeys that, frankly, we're having a hard time selling because of the price points. These will all be under $100. And when you buy from a place like Shared Pour, there is shipping. But if you can put a couple 3 bottles in there,
right,
the shipping will make sense. You guys know that very well. So Decade Down will be at Shared Pour to look for the 2024 batch. They should have it in about 2 weeks.
Awesome.
But and then the club, I mean, just by all means, there's no pressure to join the club. We've got room. We obviously want you to buy, but if you want to join just to kind of see what we're doing and experiment, then that's fine too. So that'll certainly be, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at some of the stuff we bring out.
Where can they find the sign up for that, Nolan?
I'll get Sam to send a link to Jeff tomorrow. It'll just take you right to the sign up page.
Okay, great.
We've got an email list for that, so any updates on that, it'll just go to you. But
okay.
But yeah, I'll make a note of that right now, actually.
Yep, and we'll put that out to our Patreon as well, in case anybody wants to join that as well, and share that.
And the I think it was the Crown, the Armagnac finished.
That's right.
Micro batch.
That's right.
Man,
good.
Yeah, JD was talking about that one actually.
Yeah, no, the picture on that's really cool. It's Indy's flat, right? I mean, most of Indiana's flat, but so Sam got a drone and he went to the highest point in Indianapolis, which is actually a cemetery, and he got the drone above this big monument, and he's got downtown in the background, and it's cool. And then calling it the Crown is like, oh man, that makes it even more cool. So, but it's been fun, guys. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm sorry we got the samples out late, but
no, we're good.
No, they made it here.
Right on.
Yeah, can't be mad at that.
Thank you so much for sending these samples and letting us taste through these with you. And we're hopefully going to be able to, everybody mark your calendars before the end of the year, get down to see Nolan and get some more great barrels. And
fall is a great time to come. It really is cool. It's my favorite time to taste. So you guys are always welcome.
September, October, November, something around there. Yeah.
Was it October? When were we there? October?
We were there in October, I think.
Perfect.
No, we were there in April.
No, you're right. We were there in the spring. We were there.
Yeah, it was the spring. We started the year.
That's right.
Year. Yeah.
It was a fun time. That was probably one of the most fun trips we had.
That's a great trip.
Well,
a lot of good memories.
I've got plenty more rabbits in the hat. So when you guys come, we'll roll out the red carpet and we'll have some fun.
Nice.
Make sure we get some movies.
We'll keep talking with Dusty Dan and we'll get something set up, Nolan.
All right. He's one of my favorite last names in the world.
Jeff, what else do we need to talk about? Anything else, or we good to go?
I'm good. You guys have a great night, and if you need anything, just let me know.
We'll do
that for you.
Thank you, Nolan. Thank you very much. Bye.
Cheers.
What a fun tasting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible time. That has to be my favorite of tonight.
Oh yeah.
I texted Owaits and I just seen a message. I didn't read it, but I think he said Jeff texted me too, or something.
Like I gotcha.
Yeah, man. He's gonna love that stuff, man. I knew the moment I tasted it, but that's the first person that came to mind. So
I would love a bottle of that.
Yes,
I gotta re-explore the sister barrel to Sticky Icky here.
I was very impressed with it. Very impressed. It's a very more refined, complete profile to me than our barrel.
It says a lot what like a year does, right? Because it's I don't want to say it's the same thing, right? Because different barrels obviously take on different taste and flavors, but that extra year that it spent in that barrel versus the one that we chose definitely shows on there.
Oh gosh,
it's just it's balanced. Like you don't like ours isn't harsh, but it is a flavor punch. It is almost 130 proof too versus 120, but this comes across older, even though the Sticky Icky came across a little older. You would mistake this for maybe like an 8 or 9 year old whiskey.
Yeah.
You know, with how the flavor comes across. Like that's really, really good. Like I go in reverse order for favorite to like least favorite in a sense, but even the first one was still good.
No, I totally
Sticky Icky's sister, man. It's got the Twix note. That's the note that I was like thinking about. It's
Twix,
I always keep saying Twix on the Sticky Icky, and it's still got that inside cookie of that Twix.
Yeah,
they both got that color, man, from that small barrel too.
Oh, so, whole lot of fun. Thank you everybody for hanging out tonight for this special interview and tasting session with Nolan at Backbone Bourbon. You can see why we love Backbone Bourbon so much and need to make our way back there by the end of the year. We need some sequels. We need Ethan drilling into a barrel and getting sprayed in the face again.
No, it's Adam's turn to get sprayed in the face.
Now it's Adam's turn. Yeah.
The bearded monkey.
Round two, man.
I'm telling you, the bearded monkey. That's gonna be the label for that Backbone.
Bearded monkey. What was it? You guys sent something on text message. I was like, is this a joke or is this a real thing? I don't know.
No, this is a real thing. That's what I call Adam now, and it's out of love and respect because I love him so much. I called him the bearded monkey.
Oh man.
Well, in terms of things that are upcoming, we've got 40 people still in here, so thank you for hanging around with us, everybody. Over the next, gosh darn, week and a half. I mean, Darrell, I think we're both going next week, aren't we?
I don't know. So I'm gonna text thread with Matt right now, trying to lock down dates. Bruzzo hasn't confirmed yet, so I'm not sure if we're going the 5th or if it's going to end up being after. So I'm not sure.
So this guy in round 2 of Matt Madness will be against Bruzel. I will be against either Gary from World's Worst Bourbon Channel. Oh, that would be such a fun matchup. What would also be a fun matchup is a rematch against Adriana at Whiskey Mountains, or it'd be Cliffy time with Clifton.
That's the third guess? Is Cliffy?
Yeah. Either one of those I have to go up against in round 2. That's going to be a whole lot of fun.
That is fun.
All of them just has different angles of fun. And then
Ethan, you jerk.
Ethan. I didn't even know Cliff was in that with you guys. What the heck did I miss?
Yeah, he's on our side of the bracket there. So we got to determine who is on our side of the bracket, but it has been discussed that maybe next Thursday might be Matt Madness round 2. Yeah. So
he's doing double headers.
Yeah, it'll be head-to-head matches, double headers. He's trying to work out all those dates. So that's coming up. And then just so everybody knows, once again, if you're not in the Patreon or you're not in the Facebook group, get in those because that's the main way that we share news about our single barrel picks. And we are about to drop 5 amazing barrels here over the next 6 to 8 weeks. And that is going to include our Old Dominic pick, which is probably the one that I'm most excited about in so many ways. We also have 3 picks from Evernorth. 2 bourbons, 1 light whiskey. The light whiskey is 18 years, will be very limited, but we'll do what we can to make that process fair. And then we also have a Bardstown Bourbon Company coming out all within the next 6 to 8 weeks, as we said. So keep an eye out for those. But man, these barrels are some of the ones I'm most excited about in general. I don't know, Kelsey, Darrell, if you've got anything kind of add to that, but
these are hitter.
New Holland.
The New Holland's going to sit at least until August, so it can hit 8 years.
Yeah.
That I can't even talk enough about that. I'm just gonna.
Darrell's lost for words.
It's good, and I honestly think it may sit for a little bit because it's New Holland and not many people had it. But
Oh,
dude.
sleep on the New Holland.
Oh my God.
Not sleep on that to dry.
New Holland, set the calendars for September on the New Holland.
Walleye run, guys.
Oh my gosh, that walleye run.
That may, that and it's going to be a fight between that and your Dom.
Like, do like a 12 to 13-year-old American single malt pick. You know, we're going to have to do that.
I haven't taken.
I want to do that.
I had one of their single malts, and it was crazy.
Yeah. So.
And then the Weeder from Evernorth. I have such a weird order of the things that I'm excited about. I think the 18-year light whiskey is utterly amazing, and it's probably 5th on my list, which is the weirdest thing to say out loud.
What's
Dude,
funny is
the old Dom. I want the old Dom.
I let the guys taste through those samples Monday night, and it was exactly the same thing that happened at Evernorth. Half of them preferred the Weeder, and half of them preferred the bourbon. So it's got something for everybody's profile, I think, in the 3 bottles that are coming out. So make sure you guys set your calendar, save some money back. These will not be super expensive picks. I think the light whiskey will be the most expensive one just because it's 18 years old, but they will be really, really reasonably priced picks and great whiskey. So thanks again to Dan and Sean and all those guys for Brandon taking care of us. So.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. So much fun stuff on the way. And then the other thing that we're in discussion about, and I'll just preview it here. I don't know why I'm going to preview it here, but I'll do it anyway. But we are having a problem deciding what our favorite pick is. So we're trying to think of how to do a summer series and do a tournament of all of our picks that is separate from when we determine our favorite barrel of the year. So details on that to come, guests on that to come as well. All right. Anything else, guys?
I think we're good. Let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here. Go head over to Jason. I know he's putting some shelfers up against some hitters. Go tell him that we sent you, and we'll catch you.
Looks like you're handwriting on some of these samples that he got.
It looks beautiful, then, is what you're saying.
It looks like a 3-year-old. What? I bet they know how to spell curate.
Cheers, everybody.
See you guys.